The pressure.
So much to say.
Blog Talk Radio.
Okay, so my guest and I don't have time for all that music and stuff because it's a big show today, guys, and I'm like way too excited to have the theme music keep playing. Welcome to Desperate House Witches. I'm Raina Starcy. You don't have to be. Desperate House Witches is not a G, PG, or an R-rated show. There will be cursing. There will be swearing. There will be all kinds of fucking discussions. Buckle up and get ready because this isn't going to be a polite show. I'm just telling you right now. We got to talk about this amazing person I'm talking to. We're going to talk about politics. You know we are. We're going to talk about community. We're going to talk about dream witchery. I got to give a shout-out to my amazing sponsor, Dorothy Morrison. Check out dorothymorrison.net. .com rather. Check out Wicked Witch Studios. She just closed out and sold out of her sale of the Halloween mystery packages. She sold out in 48 hours. I hope you guys were able to get in on all the amazing deals. But she sold out. There's like I can't even promote it anymore because there's nothing left for her to sell. She's already completely blown out. Thank you so much for supporting the amazing Dorothy Morrison. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love her.
She needs to make a second class.
I'm telling you, she's right. I mean, for real. So anyway, okay. So shout out to her. Shout out to all you guys. I love you so much. Thank you for giving me another amazing, wonderful year. Shout out to all of my loves at Mystic South. Shout out to all of my loves at House of Black Hat Magic. But biggest love to my Wendy Mata and to today's guest, my wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Elhoim Leafar, who has this beautiful new book, Dream Witchery through Llewellyn. Hello, my sweet king, my sweet friend, who I appreciate so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know this is your last interview for 2024, and so honored that you came to speak with me. How are you, my friend?
Great, and I am better every time I have the time to talk with you.
Oh, my gosh. It is such an honor for me to have you here, speak with you for good reasons and for some not so good reasons. We'll get into that later, but let's talk about dream witchery. Because dream witchery, I am not very smart about dreams. I've talked to you about this a little bit. For me, dreams, sometimes they're predictive, sometimes they're very scary because they dredge up a lot of things for me from childhood. There were things I learned in the book that I did not know. For example, one of the things I learned early in the book, and I don't want to give away too many things because I want folks to buy the book, but one of the things I learned was that the term brujeria and the term witchcraft are not interchangeable. And that was new for me because my whole life, I had thought that those words were interchangeable, but I was very much mistaken. Can you start us off with explaining what the difference is between the two words?
Yeah, this happened the same to me when I was a child and was trying to learn English with a small dictionary. Every time that I looked the word brujeria or magia or hechicería, how this translates to English. Oh, this is sorcery, this is magic, this is witchcraft. But when I look on internet, books or reference on witchcraft, the whole conversation goes in a different direction. Everything that about witchcraft is more like European-centered. The language, the culture, the way how you do the rituals, this aspect of working with the elements, fairies, folklore, everything's like very European-centered. It's very goddess-focused, while brujeria is more like a traditional aspect of folkloric magic from every country in Latin America. Every country in Latin America have a different aspect or incarnation of brujeria. We have the word brujeria that comes from Spain and from Catalonia, Spain, España. We have the word bruja, which is a woman who practices brujeria. We have the word bruxa, which is the same but in Brazil. And brujas are people who represent the folklore of their own land. If you go to Mexico, they have a form of brujeria. If you go to Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Colombia, Peru, each country have a different form or incarnation of brujeria, a different regional representation. which differs a lot from the aspect of witchcraft. When you read books on brujeria and you read a book on witchcraft, you notice how different they are. We confuse them because all our life people say, oh, if this is a bruja, it's a witch. No, we use the word witch like an umbrella, but when we are brujos or brujas, we don't consider ourselves witches. If you, right now, you travel to Colombia or Peru and people see what you do, they're not going to call you a witch. They're going to call you a bruja. And when they notice that what you are doing is entirely different, they will say, okay, she's some kind of different bruja than ours, because in brujeria we don't use daggers, we don't use atames, we don't use wands. The aspect of the magic circle is different. We use portals instead of magical circles. We don't have a goddess. And witchcraft is very pagan-centered in many ways. You have different pantheons to use or to work with, but most of them come from Europe. And brujeria have a strong connection with the aspect of colonization historically in Latin America. Every form of regional incarnation of brujeria have the influence of the countries that colonized them: Spain, Portugal, Italy, France. If you travel, for example, to Trinidad and Tobago, in Trinidad and Tobago, which is a neighbor of Venezuela, they practice some kind of voodoo brujeria. What they practice looks very like voodoo from New Orleans, but also have very strong influence directly from France and from Spain. The form how they do the rituals, even the language, have a lot of words in Spanish and French in a different way. The whole ritualistic work hits different. Like, for example, in most branches or traditions of witchcraft, it's a certain way of not working with blood. Blood magic is something like, it's some kind of taboo. You just use blood for reference or for some kind of personal sacrifice or for an initiation. In brujeria, blood is more related with the work from the indigenous tribes. We remember or indigenous communities, every time that they have the chance to catch or hunt any animal in the wild, they sacrifice this animal to their gods. They eat the meat from the animal. They use the skin and the bones of the animal to craft different stuff, and they throw the blood of the animal in the floor like a food for the gods and the deities and the spirits of the land. So the whole aspect of the blood magic is just a little example of how different we treat them in brujeria and in witchcraft. It's entirely different. I consider myself a brujo and I consider myself a witch because I have been initiated in both things, but I don't see it like it's the same thing. And when I get here in the United States, I have the chance to meet so many other Latin American brujos from Puerto Rico, from Cuba, and every time that I say, oh, you are a witch, they explain to me, no, I'm not a witch, I am a brujo. And they get certainly offended. Sometimes I was pretty new here, I didn't know it. And for me, being new in the United States, this was just a translation. Then they explain to me, no, every time that you are saying that we are witches, you are saying that we belong to this branch of spirituality, and we not, because what we practice is not that. We are not saying that it's more weak, more powerful, nothing of that bullshit. We just say that it's different. I embrace it from that way. It's just a different thing. It's like some people practice voodoo, some people practice hoodoo, and they don't want to get confused in the middle.
I get it. See, now you addressed something so beautifully that I was about to ask you, because being someone who tries to be sensitive to other people, my first thing to go to is, oh, this is just the colonizers being lazy and not understanding to give appreciation to differences and just being lazy and just assuming, oh, it's all one thing, and not being careful enough or thoughtful enough to investigate more. But you're saying that's not necessarily true. It's a mistake a lot of people may make, not knowing any better. Is that correct?
Exactly, because when people say, oh, all of this is just one thing, no, when you say that everything is just one thing, you are erasing years of culture, history, language, geography, slavery. It's so many things happening. For example, if you see the pantheons of Latin American brujeria, most of our pantheons and deities, they are black and they are brown. They are not precisely white. And the few white spirits or deities that we have is because they arrived with the colonizers, and our families grow up praying to these people, so they integrate part of our pantheon now. But when you say, oh, all of this is the same, no, it's not the same, because in our pantheon we have a lot of brown and black entities which represent our slaves, which represent years of history, and we just say, oh, it's just the same. People just erase so many years of history and culture that they should not be erased. We should learn from that.
I know. Yeah, it occurred to me when I was a kid, because there was so much racism that was so outward in the 60s, because I'm obviously much older than you. And it just cracks me up, the thought of somebody
but
saying,
you are aging so well. You are aging like whiskey. Other people is turning wine, but you are turning whiskey.
Oh, thank you. Well, better whiskey than vinegar, my dear. Better whiskey than vinegar.
Yeah.
But, back in the day, it was supposed to be appropriate to say, oh, I don't see color. And it occurred to me that is such a stupid thing to say, because if you say you don't see color, you're missing half the beauty of people. People are all these beautiful colors and things, and to say you don't see colors, to say you don't see the people, and it's like, but the people are beautiful because of their colors. You've just erased the beauty. What is wrong with you? What a stupid thing to say to people. But, it's just, I'm trying to understand people where they are, and I have a very hard time sometimes because I was raised by foolish people, very foolish people, and you get to choose when you become an adult if you're going to be a foolish person or if you're going to be a more expansive person. And I'm concerned about my country because I have, fellow country people who are blind and confused, but we'll get to that later. I want to talk more about this book because this book, you got a lot of great people in this book, and I just want to mention very quickly for folks who are not familiar with my friend Elhoim Leafar. He has written other books. Just keep that under your hat for future reference. I have to say that's for me because I've been a fan for a very long time. That's me. Okay. And you can inquire of me about this book, but that's another story for another time. But, I want to know why you picked this topic now, because none of your books are the same. Your books are very varied and different. Your subject matter varies a lot. It's not thematic. You pick a topic and you go there. And I want to know why you picked Dream Witchery for this book.
Yeah, well, first, I have been around witchcraft and brujeria for a long time because it's the practice of my family, so I think I have learned a lot. Just that I feel like I have learned so much from so many things, but at the same time, I have not gone so deeper as I want in just one topic. I really admire the compromise of people when they just practice like one tradition, because if you are a full-time witch, a full-time guardian, a full-time bruja, a full-time curandera, you spend your whole life training in that path, so you will discover mysteries and secrets and languages, and you will have experience that nobody else will have. In my case, I have been around in a very eclectic path because my mom was very eclectic too. And I just learned from her, like, you just try to practice everything. If this works with you, continue with that. If you see that this don't work, if this feels off, you just take it away. And I have been around taking so much knowledge, and I have the good luck to have so many good masters and teachers in my life, people who literally push me very hard in ways that sometimes I make me doubt of my own ability. When I am 36 years old, I'm very close to my 40s, and I continue training with a priest that forced me sometimes to the limit, that makes me feel like, okay, I'm very not ready for this, and at the same time, I feel like, it's good because I have 30 years of my life practicing this. I take my first initiation when I was 9, and the fact that people continue pushing you to limits that you were not able to recognize before, that's beautiful. And when you're writing books, it's a lot about that you drop in the book, because you choose a topic, and this, let me see how much I actually know about this. For example, I would love to write one day, very long in the future, a whole book in Spiritismo, but I don't feel yet qualified to sit down to write a whole book on the topic, because if I write it right now, it would be a very superficial book. If I wrote it in maybe 20, 30 years, that would be an interesting book, because you will have the perspective of Elhoim when was growing in Amazonas, being a Spiritista, the perspective of Elhoim living in the city of Venezuela and living in Argentina and living in Brazil, learning from different Spiritist teachers, different traditions, and the experience of Elhoim living for 20 or 30 years practicing Spiritismo here in the United States. That would be a delicious book to write in that moment. But right now it will be very superficial. When I wrote the book on charm bags, that was a first step for me, because I was just getting here in the United States, and I could write a book on love magic, money magic, abundance, protection, whatever, but I wanted to start saying to people, hey, hi, hola, I am Latino, I come from Latin America, this is what we do. This is our Witchcraft 101, this is all basic things, we do charm bags. That's the first thing that you put to do to our children, because when you travel to Amazonas to do ayahuasca, cacao ceremonies, tobacco rituals for cleansing, this kind of stuff, and you travel with your children, you always take the little young spiritual worker of the tribe to the river. Okay, you attend to the other children, you collect some stones and some branches and some leaves and make a charm bag and put them to work and do something useful with your time. That's what we do. So for me, it was like, if you're going to hit these people with something, don't try to pretend that you're American, because you're not. Try to let yourself recognize that you are Latino. And for me, I want to do a book on charm bags, because this is what we do. And the first spells that I do when I was a child, no was a magical circle, no was a summoning of a spirit, was a charm bag, the first spell that I did for myself. After that, writing a book on manifestation magic was the same. I was struggling with money when I arrived here in the United States. I was pretty new here. I didn't know the language. I didn't have a full-time job. I didn't have reference. I didn't have the money to pay a lawyer. But I learned to reset my mind, like, everything that I have been doing on money magic all this time has been wrong. Let me think from another perspective. And I discovered, this works in this way. This works better in this way, so let me continue trying this. And when I see that I mastered something, let me write a whole book on the topic, because I feel I'm qualified to teach on the topic. Dream Witchery, this book was, this full book on Dream Witchery, I have been working on this book for years. This book was rejected for many publisher houses over and over and over, because everybody find it strange. One publishing house literally says to me, what is this? And I was like, well, okay, this is what we do, but the difference between this book and all the others is that in all the other books, I try to savor the food in a way that you can digest it. In this book, I'm not trying to be easy with you. I'm just trying to slap you in the face. And I know it's a heavy book. It's very heavy to read, because for me it was very heavy to write. I exchanged emails with the editor so many times. You can't rephrase this chapter, you can't fix this because this is difficult to understand. And I totally understand what they are saying. And I say, yes, let me try to do it, because I understand that. I'm not saying to you, in your culture you dress on blue and we dress on red. I'm saying in the book, you have been dressing on blue because people say to you, we dress in red because we have all this cultural historical background of 800 years. That's what I try to do, and was very difficult to explain. That's what I did. I just tried to make it, but in the process, I noticed that it was easy to do a book on that, because if you take a topic of dream witchcraft or dream witchery, of dream magic, from a particular perspective, you need to go full on that perspective. And this was a Wiccan dream book. This was a Latin American dream book. And I was just trying to put together what is the perspective of this magic in the indigenous communities, because most of the community that I have been making online readers, people who follow me on Instagram, people who read my stuff, a lot of these people are Latin American. And if you could see my DMs, it's so many times every day that people say, oh, this looks like what my grandma did when I was in Ecuador. Oh, this is what my uncle do when I go to Peru. And they have so much of that information on me that I was just trying to give these people, like, let me give you a tool that I literally have in my mind, in my hands, that will not just help you to understand better what your grandma was doing, will help you to master what your whole family and ancestors were doing. But also, if you are an American person, a British person, an European person, and you want to understand why Latin Americans do this kind of stuff, why every time that people have troubles, they travel to Amazonas to do ayahuasca, okay, we do it well because this is what we do, and this is the approach that we take. It's not just that we go to the botanica, buy the herbs, prepare them in the kitchen and serve to you in a cup. It's that we do a whole work of veneration, of magical work. It's how we prepare the cacao. It's how we smash the coffee beans. It's how we take the water from the river with the first moonlight of the month. It's how the youngest girl in the tribe has her first period, and that first drop of blood is literally sacred, and you need to throw it in the land to say thanks to the spirits and the land, because you give us this beautiful gift in the form of a woman who is now in the capacity to grow up the whole humanity and our whole community just through her. And this drop of blood represents an entire new generation for coming to us. So I was just trying to put all of this together and reminding to people, this continues being a book on dream magic, just that I'm giving you the whole background behind every spell, behind every ritual, behind every tradition. Oh, when you go to Peru, Peruvian people used to do this kind of ritual with arepas and with other food and with empanadas. Yeah, let me show you why we do it. And here is the whole ritual and history behind that ritual, that when you sit down in the table just to eat the empanada, you entirely ignore the whole work behind the kitchen that is happening.
Yeah, well, I love arepa. But anyway, but yes, there is.
Oh, no.
There's so many common traditions. You know, it reminds me. There's a couple of things in here that really reminded me of my grandmother, like the Sweet Dreams charm, the one with the honeysuckle oil and the cotton flowers and the rose-colored candles that she would light at night for me to sleep well, because I always had nightmares. So there was a lot of things that felt so familiar in the book that were like, oh, I remember these things. There's some kind of, if you believe in multiple lives, you know, I believe we're all connected in some way. So there's like some things we bring in from other lives so we can be connected through some kind of a history, I guess, that we're all connected from some great well of water that my mentor used to say. We all come from this big, big well of water, and the gods put in their ladle and they pull out some water and they just create a new, and every time one of us passes, go back to the big well of water, and they just scoop out another ladle full of water and create another person. It's just what we all come from. And I love that. And this book really speaks to me of that feeling of being connected, no matter where we're from, no matter who we are. There's this, even if it's the tiniest single drop, that we're still interconnected through the centuries, no matter where we're from, that there's still a piece of us that still resides in each other. And I found that very comforting. But this book is not for the faint of heart. This book is, you better be serious. You've got to read this book, and it takes time. And you've got to, there's exercises in here. This is not playtime. I mean, not that any of his writings are playtime, but I will say, this is a serious book, and you will learn stuff, and it will help you. But I am not wise about dreams like I thought I was. I thought I knew some shit. I don't know shit about shit. So that's why this book is really important to have, because there's so many aspects to dreams that can help you understand and help you with your shadow work. And shadow work, people, am I right or am I wrong? This is a big thing that we've been talking about for the past 7, 8 years, 9 years, that shadow work is so important that a lot of us neglect in ourselves, and we want to push it away because we don't want to clean out the clutter and the crap. A lot of it we cause ourselves, and it's shit we got to work through if we're going to advance. And we're on this constant precipice, especially now, of where we're going to be and where we're going to go as entities spiritually. And this is the kind of guidance we need to get through our shit. Right or wrong, this is what we need to do. So I'm going to tell you,
shadow work is really important because, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Shadow work is really important because if you bring your trauma to every season, to every session, to every ritual, to every tradition, you're just going to be bleeding your trauma over everybody else. If you continue being an arrogant person, if you continue being a narcissist, if you are a total asshole with other people, and you are permitted to get into the initiation in some kind of tradition, and you continue being the same person, you have never explored yourself, why you are who you are and why you are behaving in that way, and they allow you to behave in that way. You are not just misrepresenting the tradition outside. You are also not doing any work, because the spirits and the deities, they literally don't owe you anything. As my mom will say, they don't owe you shit. They will not do the work for you just because you are arrogant and you feel entitled. You can have 1 million followers on TikTok and say to people, oh, I'm going to curse you with all my spirits. And, hey, the spirits are not toys. They're not going to go around just because you have 1 million followers on TikTok. They don't really care about that. They really care about you because you are the medium, the representative, the anchor in this physical world. And you can just go around throwing other people out under the bus just because. If you don't make the work, the inner work that you need to do in every tradition, in every step, in every path, and don't recognize what are you doing wrong, you are not just misrepresenting the tradition. You are doing a terrible job as magician, as a witch, as a brujo, because your work will not have any effect. That's the reason why you see so many times on Facebook or in any other platform on social media, these kind of witches who are so entitled, arrogant, narcissists, all the time throwing other people under the bus, all the time looking for fights, all the time looking for drama, because the magical work is simply not working, and they feel frustrated, and they just want to distract themselves from the frustration, so they just try to reflect that. And instead of, okay, let me take 2 hours a day just to sit down to do this inner work that is so important for me, let me just spend these 2 hours throwing other people under the bus publicly.
This is one of the things I love about you, because you actually walk the talk. I have seen people come at you, and I never understand why these people even have the time. If you are doing what you're actually supposed to be doing in this life, to just take care of yourself and the people in your immediate vicinity, you shouldn't even have the time or the energy or the inclination to go after another member of our community, especially a precious member of our community, who is doing the things that community requires of us to uplift each other, to care for each other. Elhoim and his partner, his beautiful David, they are actually walking the walk and taking care of the neighbors and the community and making sure that people are getting the attention and the food and the care and the love that is so desperately missing in the places that they are. And it is such a beautiful mission that you and your husband are on. And I really wish that people would just step back and look at the example that you are showing to community, because it is such a beautiful thing. It is such a selfless thing. And I admire you so. And I wish that everyone would just stop and learn by the example and understand how you have come up with the resources, and you're giving classes on how to do things. But I know it comes from your heart. It's amazing.
Thank you. I remember a year ago, I was moving here to the house where I'm living right now. One of my compromises with my husband, when we moved here, we have two compromises. The first one is the patio. We have a patio that is so big that when we were trying to bid or to buy the house, when we were negotiating for the house, I just came to the place. I really love the house. I really love the patio. The house requires a lot of work, but I sit down in the patio in front of the vendor, and I say to the spirits and to the trees, I hold the tree and I say, if you let me come here, if you remove any obstacle and you choose me as your next owner, I promise to you I'm going to take care of you. And I don't know your name, I don't know your language, but if you understand what I'm saying to you from my heart, I promise to you I'm going to take care of you, your space, your spirit, and whoever was the deity, the spirit, the owner of this land in the past, I'm going to honor them to the day that I did. And what has we been doing all this time? We make bonfires outside because we just read history about this place, what kind of practices the indigenous people were doing here. And I'm not trying to make the arrogant thing to assume that I am the kind of new priest of the place. I am not, because I don't even know the language of the Onondaga people here where I live. I just try to honor their space and let them to remember that this place belongs to you long time before me, and you will always be welcome here. Just please don't make any disaster. The second rule that I put with my husband was, this is a big house. We're going to rent the place, right? We're going to rent the rooms. Okay. Our compromise is that we're going to rent the rooms to LGBTQ people, and we're going to try to put the most accessible prices to them. And we are very close to the Syracuse College, and what we do is try to interview every person one by one to see if they fit with the energy of the place. And we are trying to create a safe space, a safe environment for every student who comes here. You know, I'm trying to look for a room, a small room, an apartment, a space where I can rent for this or for that. And I think that we are blessed that the people, most of the people that we have here have been like very grateful and have been behaving very well. When somebody just don't feel good with the energy, we just, we think that you are not fit for this place, everybody making uncomfortable. This is not the idea that we have. I'm really sorry, we're going to help you to find another place. Yeah. All of this was happening. We were buying the house, we were working on our daily work. I'm sending money to my family in Venezuela. I have 14 nephews of who I need to take care. I have my dad who is 92 years old. I have my mom who is 86 years old. I need to send money to my dad, to my mom, to my sisters, to my nephews. I keep 3 jobs. My husband is working too. And in the middle of all of this, I have some kind of people working around saying, cursing me on Facebook and whatever. And I remember my response was, I really don't have the time for this. I'm sorry. I'm really working. I'm too busy for this. I really don't know how people can spend such amount of time just to call the attention using hate as a base for that. Like, they need it. Okay, if you want to use my name to call the attention, do it. I don't expect a response for me because I'm really busy for that.
I know. And that's what I'm saying. When you're doing the actual work, you don't have time to be petty. You don't have time to hurt other people. You're busy doing the actual work of community. And it's such a beautiful thing. And knowing that you're out there and you're like a guardian angel to so many people, whether you know it or not. Just every time I see a bully you react to somebody who's being a bully, because you call this shit out. Because, it's interesting. You hear a lot of the time, don't react to the bullies. It just gives them steam. It's not that you're reacting to the bullies. It's that you're calling this bullshit out so that other people can see that this bullshit is still occurring, and it's important to do that so we see that it's still happening, because you need to be aware of it in your own life and in other people's lives too, so you know what to stand up for and you know who to stand against. Because you're always you're such a fucking gentleman. I gotta say this. You never call the bullies out by actual name. No, you really don't. And you don't make it obvious because we actually have to dig for this fucking information because you're so fucking polite about it. I'm just saying, you are the soul of brevity. You are the soul of gentlemanly spirit and chivalry in such a way that it makes you so fucking honorable that I adore you. It is ridiculous how classy you are. And I just want people to understand the kind of class act you are. You came on the scene, it seems like yesterday. I know it's a lot longer ago than that, but it feels like yesterday that you popped on the scene. And I was like, who, what, and where? This guy is an angel. You came at me from nowhere, and I was like, I think I'm in love with this person. I mean, I knew you had a husband, whatever. I don't care. That stuff doesn't bother me. I'm a dirty old lady. I don't give a shit. But your spirit is so beautiful, and you just draw people in. And I loved your book. I can't help it. I'm a simple girl. I like stuff that's easy to read. Sometimes I need something a little quick. I got jobs to do. I got people to take care of. I got a family. I got all this shit. And I loved it. And then you hit me between the eyes with a book like Dream Witchery, and I'm like, oh, now I'm going to get educated, like, with a hammer. And I'm like, oh, my God, he's killing me over here. But you've got all these people involved, and you never stop being humble. And you've never been an asshole that I have ever seen to anybody in all the time I have been watching you. And it has been years now. So it's like, that's the genuine you. And I just want to celebrate that because all the accolades you've been getting, I know Dream Witchery has been well received. I know your other books were well received. And just watching you have success is you have to understand, it is so encouraging to see you have success, to know that you are getting flowers, to know that you are being shown appreciation. It gives me, it's like a proud mama. I mean, I'm not your mama, but I'm a proud mama. I'm old enough to be your mama, pretty much. I mean, yeah, I'm 62 years old, so I'm old enough very much to be your mama. It's not a big deal, but I'm proud of you. And it honors me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And it honors me that you'll sit and have these conversations with me, and we can talk about the fact that we can talk about everything, magic, sexuality, racism, the fact that we can sit and have these conversations because I want people to understand what's happening. I want people my age to understand that the fight continues. The work continues. Just because you're older doesn't make you an elder. Elder is a very specific term. You have to earn the title of elder. Just because I'm old, elderly is not elder. I am elderly. That does not make me an elder. I am not qualified to teach. I don't assume that mantle. I respect the hard work you have put in and the sacrifices that you have made. This book, Dream Witchery, there's not another book like this book. This book is a very special book, and it is a challenging book, and it will put you through your paces, and it will make you work, but it's the good work. It's the work that a lot of us say we're doing and we're not doing. And the thing about shadow work, let me tell you something. I got my first degree when I was 28 years old. And my mentor put me through 12 years of phases because he was like, everybody says they want to be a witch, okay? He was trained as a Gardnerian. But not everybody means it. And he was very, very serious. And it took 12 years for me to prove myself and earn the right to get my first degree initiation. And I worked my ass off for that shit. And I'm still learning. I am still not perfect at my craft. I have learned and earned since then. I'm 62 years old. I'm still working my ass off to earn it and figure it out. It's not something you get with age necessarily. So I just want you to know.
Yeah, it's because we have so much work to do. It's so much work to do that we need to do, not just... It's the inner work, it's the work outside that we need to take care. There's so many things happening outside in the world. We have Ukraine, we have Palestine, Israel, we have things happening in Venezuela. We have the democratic happening here, how the democracy is being threatened right now in the United States. It's a lot of work to do that we need to continue doing constantly. And we want to feel tired, we want to feel exhausted, but that's no reason to just quit. It's a reason to rest a bit, breathe deep, take a rest, take a nap, and continue working. That's the goal. We can just sit down and watch TV all day. That's not the idea. That's not how the world moves, and it's not how the world changes. If you want to be a witch, you need to do the work, but also you need to get involved with everything, because the witch serves to a bigger purpose. The witch is there for the community. You represent your deities and your pantheon, and you are here to heal the people, but also to heal the world. And if healing the world means going and bless the people marching, you need to do it. And if making the work of a witch means go to make protections for the people presenting a democratic party, you need to do it. And if being a witch means you need to try to change the world for better, and that means go to insist to people, please go to vote, you need to do it. Because witchcraft is at the same time political, it's cultural, it's historical, it's a lot of things at the same time. It's not just the spell work.
Correct. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I wanted to talk about what's happening in your home country of Venezuela. So,
so
again,
many things.
Because of course, you know, I'm going to talk about politics and how appropriate. In July in Venezuela, there was an election, correct?
Yeah.
And there was a dispute about who won the election. So there
that
were
happens in every election in Venezuela.
In every election in Venezuela, and as it turns out, Maduro, who is the strong man, sound familiar, kid?
Yeah.
The strong man, as we have.
Yeah.
Would you agree that Maduro is the equivalent of our Trump?
It's equivalent, but even if it's possible, it's less smarter.
Less smart. Wow. Okay. If you could imagine someone who is not quite as smart as Trump, but equally vindictive, I would say, Maduro, who is refusing, as we know Donald Trump does, to the results of the election and the will of the people, who has now stepped in and claimed power. Okay? So this is happening right now in real time in Venezuela. And Venezuela is not a third world country. I want people to understand everything that happens in the world is not just in America. And America is not the only first world nation. And I need my American friends to please understand this, because everything that happens here is not the most important or only important thing that is happening. This is happening in real time in other places that are just as educated as we are. And I need y'all to not be insulted when I say that, but Americans have this tendency to lean towards American exceptionalism, and I need you to understand that just because someone doesn't look like us or doesn't sound like we sound doesn't make them any less intelligent or any less smart or any less brilliant than anybody else. As a matter of fact, quite the contrary. So this is now happening in real time in Venezuela and can very easily happen right here to us. So the nature of a witch's job... I'm sorry, go ahead, darling.
I remember, you just remind me, we have this kind of quote that I listened so many times years ago, that when people was trying to emigrate out of Venezuela and they come back because they didn't have a good time, we always say the thing is different from Colombians, different from Cubans, different from Nicaraguans. Venezuelan people, we are not used to immigrate. We are not prepared to emigrate because we were always historically accurate. We were always a country where everybody goes when they are having a hard time in their own country. If you see the history of our country, everybody travels to Venezuela, and that's why every time an American person or a British person arriving there, they always say to us, you are also culturally aware. And it's because we are used to, from the moment that we're born, to be surrounded by French people, Italian people, Portuguese people, people who come from Serbia, from Ukraine. In Venezuela, we know the whole map of Europe, and we know everything about Eurovision Song Contest because we have people who come from all the countries telling us these stories. And we grow up being surrounded for so many cultures and so many languages at the same time, which is the reason why also Venezuelan and Colombian people, we have so certain thing to catch languages very easy, is because we grow up listening to many people talking in so many languages. And then when it's our turn finally to emigrate, because our country is going down, we really don't have the skills. We don't know anybody outside. We don't have family outside because we don't know how to do it, because it's something that is totally new for us as a culture, as a nation. It's not like when you are Colombian, and Colombian people always emigrate to the United States. Mexican people always come to the United States. Cuban people come to the United States or Venezuela. Haitians go to Venezuela or Peru. Ecuadorians go to Brazil or Venezuela. We have the whole map, but Venezuelan people never go to anywhere except sometimes to Spain. And when finally you choose to emigrate, it's like, okay, I don't have the skills, I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the contacts, I don't know how to do it. I mean, I need to make what? I need to make clothes, I need to take classes, I need to learn a new language. What I do? It's an entirely new experience. And sadly, that is exactly what happened, that will happen with the United States if people don't take care now. When you have the opportunity, you have literally weeks to make the difference. Because when you have somebody threatening the democracy of your country, saying, literally in TV, without any shame, without any fear, without any lack of I don't know, when they go to the TV and say in front of you without any shame, I'm going to take care of the fact that you don't need to vote more in the future, you need to take care of that, because we listen exactly that same speech when Hugo Chavez take the power in Venezuela, and immediately in his first term, he starts changing all the rules, because the presidency in Venezuela was first for 5 years, and you could not be taken for a second term immediately after the first one. You should wait for a term in the middle to run for president again. And immediately he gets to the power, he changed all the rules. He extended the presidential time from 5 years to 6. And he removed the rule of the second term, so he could just run for a second term immediately. But also he changed all the system. He gets rid of everything that goes against him. In a certain point, that when he has so many years being the monarch, we just start calling him the king, because he was literally a president. He was the king. He gets rid of the Senate, and we don't have more senators in Venezuela because he takes care of that. He changed all the system in his favor. And when he died, before to die, we have this rule in Venezuela that I think should be able in every country. A president should not run or be the president if you are not able physically, emotionally, medically to be the president. He was suffering cancer, and he ruled for the last 6 to 9 months of his life from Cuba. He was interned in a hospital in Cuba, and he was ruling the country from Cuba, and everything was happening in the country. And when he was sure that he was going to die, he just chose, like a king, oh, this person next to me is going to take care of the country. And everybody was like, well, and we will have elections or something? No, he just chose the next person. And he died, and this next person, Maduro, just takes power over the country. And every elections that we have is literally the same story. Every time we have this hope, this big hope that this is the time, we're going to change, we have a new candidate, we have more political power, we have more support from another country, and we have the elections, we have the numbers, and they say we don't recognize the votes. So people just lost the hope and continue being the same. And if you look at the history of Venezuela, we have almost 30 years with the same presidency, with the same government because of that. And that is what this person is trying to do here in the United States. He's just trying to keep himself in the power Because when you know that you have a bad history in your background, that you are literally a delinquent, that you have committed all kind of bad things legally reported historically, that people know that you made it, that is everything in a report, that the cops and everybody knows that you did this kind of things, you want to get in power, because when you are into power, nobody can rule over you, nobody going to place you in the jail. Who's going to come into the White House to cuff the president? Nobody going to do that. That's what he's trying to do. And you need to take care of these kind of things, because when somebody don't have even the shame to say in a TV, in front of literally everybody, in front of millions of people, I'm going to take care of the system so you don't need to vote again. Okay, see what happens in Venezuela, see what happens in Nicaragua, see what happens in Cuba. It's not going to be different.
Just like Russia. It's all a farce.
Exactly.
When they tell you you're going to vote, it's going to be the same thing. Just like when they look at North Korea, you have no power.
Exactly.
The government that is in power will stay in power forever, and you better kiss your leader's ass, because their leader can get rid of you at the drop of a hat just because he wants to. And it doesn't matter if you're a powerful person or you're a nobody, because they can get rid of you just because they want to, just because you made them mad. It does not matter. And if you think Trump is any different, he is not. If anything, he is worse, and he wants this kind of power. So my friend is telling you, my friends who are not decided, or my friends who are afraid, or my friends who feel like a woman can't be president, let me tell you right now, my friend has just told you what is happening in his homeland and is continuing to happen in places all over this world. We cannot let this happen in America, because I will tell you right now, my friend is not from this country, and I will live in fear that my friend will not be allowed to stay. Just because of who he is, just because of who he loves, just because of his religious practices. I will have to be afraid that my friend will not be allowed to be here, along with many of my other friends who are not from here. So if you love anyone who is not from here, if you love anyone who doesn't love the Judeo-Christian way, if you love anyone who is not of a Judeo-Christian background, I implore you and I beg you to please make your voices heard. We have to win this election in overwhelming numbers. We must. We must not give Trump the ability to take any more rights away, to not take any more rights from the LGBTQ plus community, to take any more rights away from women, to take any more rights away from the gendered and non-gendered, from people in general, from any of our loved ones. Please do the right thing. Please make sure you vote early. Please make sure you vote, period, up and down the ticket for Democrats. Elhoim, I love you so much.
When you vote, you are not voting for, this is a candidate that I like. We don't care if you like them. You need to vote for the right candidate, because you are doing it not for you, for your sister. You are doing it for your daughter. You are doing it for your mother. You are doing it for your wife. You are doing it for every woman in your family, which rights have been threatened right now. Your rights with being a white man have not been threatened, never will be. You will continue being the same white man with the same amount of rights. But the women around you, they will have a different life depending entirely of your vote.
Yes. Women will not be allowed to have credit cards. Women will not be allowed to own property. You know, our gay people will not be allowed to marry anymore. They will dissolve marriages. They will take their children away. These are, it will affect women the most, as far as bodily autonomy and the things that women will be allowed to have. They will go back to taking away property and making women wards of the state and the churches. It will get ugly and it will get bad very fast, but it will also destroy all of our loved ones who are not, quote unquote, straight. And that's like...
And vote early and don't believe in the polls. Don't believe in the polls. Don't pay attention to the polls. You go and vote. You don't sit down in your house and say, but the polls say, no, don't care about the polls. You go and vote.
Yes, the polls are made by the media. The polls are made to distract you. The polls are made to confuse you. You don't worry about what the polls say. The polls are virtually meaningless. They're going to go up. They're going to go down. They're going to go up. They're going to go down. They are meant to distract you. They are meant to confuse you. You go do the right thing. I don't care if every poll says that the Democrats are winning. I don't care what day of the week it is. I don't care if it's election day and it says nobody has to vote, it's all decided. You go and do the right thing because you know that the media is trying to make money. They have things to sell. They have ratings to make. They have advertising. They must make money. They have to keep you interested. That's why you cannot let these things destroy your peace. Don't worry about the news. Don't worry about what you hear from your friends. Don't worry about what you read on social media. You must go. You must go and vote. You must make your voice count. You must make your voice heard. Help your neighbors. Help them get to the polls if they need help. You must make sure that you can help as many people as you possibly can. I always take off election day just in case somebody nearby needs some help. I always take off the day after just in case I needed to cry or celebrate, whatever. I'm planning on celebrating this year. But you know what? We all have to do our part. We all have to pitch in and be there. I contribute money when I can. I'm not young enough to do the door-to-door thing anymore because I'm older now, but that's okay. I make a little money, I send a little money. We got to do the things we can. If you can make phone calls, make phone calls, whatever you can do to help the effort. We're on a good roll. Like Hillary Clinton said, we got Donald Duck on the run. Let's keep him on the run. Let's do the right thing. Let's save democracy. Every election is important. Every current election is more important than the last one because the stakes just keep getting bigger. Do it for our community, for the witchcraft community, for all of our loved ones, near and far, not just here, but in other countries. We have a lot of people that we have to take care of. We have to take care of each other. Right, Elhoim? We've got a lot of people to look after, and we've got to take care of each other, and we've got to keep our families together, all of us. Witches and not witches. Brujeria and not brujeria. All of us have people we love that are not here. We want to be able to see them. We want to be able to have them visit. We don't want them locked out of our country, and we don't want to be locked into our country. Let us keep America a free nation where people can come and go. I implore you. And I also want to implore you to get this book, Dream Witchery. It's work. It is work, but it's the good work. It's the good work. At 62 years old, I am still doing shadow work. I thought I had done shadow work. No. Au contraire. It's only in the last 3 years I'm actually doing the real hard work. And that's part of why I need this book, and it's part of why you need this book too. So I encourage you, get it from your local bookseller. Get it from Llewellyn. Get it wherever you have to get it, but get it. It's an amazing book, and I'm looking forward to so much more from our friend Elhoim Leafar. I love you, my friend. You are so precious. Please continue to write and continue to be who you are and continue to be that light in the darkness that we so much need. I love you so much. Please come back to the show next year, please.
Yes. For you, yes. For you to the moon. You know it.
I love you. I love you so much. Thank you so much for coming on and spending this time with me.
Thanks to you always.
All right, my love. I will see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.